Hi, Trevor White here again. Now, I want to talk today about a question that I get asked most frequently in working with betrayal trauma and with infidelity. And it's usually the first question people ask me when they come to therapy, which is, how can I rebuild trust? Is it possible to rebuild trust in this person that has violated my trust? It's a really legitimate and understandable question, and something that people are really concerned about usually. I think sometimes people think about trust like it's an on-off switch, right? You either have it or you don't, or it's a binary 1 or a 0, right? And trust, I find, is a lot more nuanced than that. I like to think about trust more like a bank account, right? So when you first meet somebody, whether it's a friend or a romantic partner, you don't immediately trust them, right? People don't usually immediately completely trust a person, right? You have experiences with them over time that either deposit into a trust bank or withdraw from a trust bank. Right? Now, when you first meet someone romantically, whether it's, online, on an app, or through a friend, usually you're fairly measured in how much you trust them. You maybe will go out and meet them in a public setting or tell a friend where you're at because you don't know this person. You're not aware of who they are. So you don't fully trust them. Understandably, that's an appropriate way to act. Over time, you have experiences together that builds trust, builds your balance. Now, when you experience betrayal trauma, right? When you experience infidelity, when you experience cheating, it's a massive withdrawal in that account. It doesn't necessarily take it to 0 or negative, but it is a significant withdrawal. So we're not starting from 0. But we are needing to focus on how do we build the balance back up to a point where you're able to engage with them in a relationship like you did before, right? So I think the same principles that helped at the start can help you again. Right? So think about for yourself with what happened, the withdrawal, what was taken from you when it comes to the trust bank. How can we target those specific experiences to help build it back up? So, for example, if your partner committed some sort of betrayal trauma while they were using a substance, if you request for them to not use that substance anymore, if they voluntarily choose to not use that substance anymore, that's kind of like a passive deposit every day, right, into the trust bank. Every day that you see them choosing to not use that substance, that's a deposit, right? They're clearly making an intentional choice to help rebuild trust. Now, it takes time, but that slowly is going to help you build things back up. You're never going to have one deposit take you all the way back, right? We kind of got to get rich slow when it comes to this, to borrow from Warren Buffett. I always get him and Jimmy Buffett confused. So another example would be if your partner said that they were going to be someplace or lied or were dishonest about where they were, they could share their location with you. Do Find My Friends or Google Maps, share their location. That's again another passive way for you to know, okay, this is where my partner's at. Their word is bond when it comes to this, and that's a valid way. It doesn't have to be for the entire future of your relationship, but it is helpful right away to kind of get some deposits in the bank and build back that balance, right? And the thing that I often hear from people when it comes to these trust injuries is that time is going to help, right? And like I'm saying, using this kind of bank analogy, time with some good investments will help, right? Time in and of itself isn't going to build back the balance. I've worked with people 5, 10, 15 years after infidelity has occurred that have not healed. So time in and of itself is not a healer, right? Time well spent or wise investments of time and experience can be helpful in building back the trust bank balance. And that's what I would encourage you to look at. It's challenging, right? And it's so difficult right away when you're in the midst of trauma and recovery to feel like, a single thing is going to be helpful. But, a single thing built upon by another thing and another thing and another thing deposits over time, you'll notice, wow, I'm starting to feel a little more comfortable with this person again. I'm starting to feel like I can believe them when they tell me things. And that's where I would really encourage you to look internally. What would help me? What's a single thing that could happen that would help me trust this person just that much more, right? And then can we stack those up over the days and weeks? And over time, you'll see, wow, okay, I'm kind of back to where I was, or maybe even further than I was before, right? Which is the significance and the depth that couples can reach after dealing with infidelity and trust wounds. So think about this, and it is an unusual thing for a human relationship, but it's transactional, right? Can we figure out what are things that could happen, small moments that would help us build back that bank account, and then get to a place where we have enough trust that we can actually start doing the work of understanding what led us here in the first place and why this happened.